It actually happened. Juan Soto and Josh Bell are headed to the Padres, but before we get into it, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We'll break down the entire deal up next. And just like that, one of the biggest trades in MLB history is going down as both Juan Soto and Josh Bell are headed to the San Diego Padres. Welcome in to another emergency edition of Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, August 2nd. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. I was skeptical that a Soto deal would actually happen, but cue Michael Scott because it's happening. The mega deal sends Soto and Bell to the Padres in exchange for a prospect haul that includes Mackenzie Gore, CJ Abrams, outfielders Robert Hassel and James Wood, as well as pitching prospect Harleen Susanna. And it sounds like Eric Hosmer could be part of the deal, might not be part of the deal. That doesn't
might be
really
going
matter.
somewhere else. He's not going to Washington.
All right.
He has decided that.
I don't think he's going to be in San Diego, but we'll see what happens. A lineup that now includes Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, and Josh Bell is just absolutely insane. Soto having a bit of a down year, but as we expected since the start of July, he's been amazing. 324 batting average, 515 OBP, 7 homers, an OPS approaching 1,200. Scott, we'll start with you. Juan Soto, Josh Bell, I assume stock up.
Yeah. I mean, being in a better lineup is a good thing. San Diego's not the best place to hit. Washington isn't either. San Diego's a little worse. I don't think in Juan Soto's case, though, obviously a generational talent like that, those talents are going to translate anywhere. So I'm not sweating that. I'm just taking in the enormity of this deal because it is like, on the one hand, yes, you have generational talent being traded at age 23, 5 years into his career, granted, but still, like, so much of his career still ahead of him, and he's being traded. So that is, there's little precedent for that to begin with. And then what they got in return. I mean, I was skeptical too, because with 2.5 years left, they knew they weren't going to be able to keep Soto. They gave it their best shot. 15-year, $440 million offer, I think. An unprecedented offer for a player at this stage of his, a couple years before he enters free agency, an unprecedented deal that big. And he turned it down, which is his right. And they knew they weren't going to compete in the next 2.5 years, so they wanted to make sure they got something for him. But because they had all these windows left to trade him, okay, this trade deadline, the offseason, next trade deadline, next offseason, you knew it was going to take. You knew they were going to need to find a club who was willing to empty the vault. And the Padres did that. This might be the biggest prospect package ever traded for a player, which is justifiable given the player that they traded it for.
Yeah.
And, I'm not saying it's necessarily worth Juan Soto, because what is, but if you've already decided you're not going to be able to keep Soto, like, I feel like the Nationals did the best they could possibly do. I can't imagine any other club giving them more than this. There are plenty of all-star campaigns to be had among this group of 4 prospects that they acquired.
Yeah, I was on CBS Sports HQ earlier today. Apologies for those watching. You have to see my hair. It's a huge issue.
He's not allowed to wear fitted hats on HQ.
I wish I was. I don't like showing my hair. It's weird.
Have you tried it?
You're not going to have it forever, Frank.
Yeah, that's true. But it's fine. Look, once it starts to go, I'm going the Chris route. I have no problems with that whatsoever. I said, like, you're never going to get a package worth Juan Soto, but this is about as close to it as you can possibly get. We'll get into the prospects in just a little bit. Chris, I'll give you an opportunity to talk about just the magnitude of this trade. I mean, one of the biggest in baseball history, and, what it might do for those surrounding Juan Soto now. I mean, stock up for Manny Machado, stock up for Jake Cronenworth, stock up for Josh Bell, who's already having an amazing year. He's a top 8 first baseman in both head-to-head points and roto. So your thoughts on the deal?
Yeah, I mean, the comp, I guess, in terms of like a player at a comparable part of his career who is going to be in the Hall of Fame someday would be Miguel Cabrera, when the Marlins traded him after I think it was the 2008 season. And they got 2 top 10 prospects in all of baseball, and Andrew Miller and Cameron Maben, and then kind of a bunch of organizational filler, like 15 to 30 type of guys in the Tigers organization at the time. Well, I guess if you look at Mackenzie, the Andrew Miller comp, which I worry might be a more accurate comp than Nationals fans might want, but we'll cross that bridge eventually. James Wood, I guess, would be the Cameron Maben comp in terms of where he's being looked at in amongst prospect people. Maybe CJ Abrams would be that comp, but then you have
probably
Hassel and Wood, who both might be top 50, certainly top 100 prospects this year in baseball. Like the Nationals did about as well as you could possibly have hoped for in giving up, someone called it 1942 Ted Williams on Twitter. Like, somebody I follow on Twitter asked for like an NFL comp, and I said it was like Justin Herbert getting traded if Justin Herbert was 1984 Dan Marino. Like that's the kind of air that Juan Soto is. Like he's one of the 3 or 4 best young hitters in the history of baseball. So like Frank said, you can't get equal value for that kind of player. But the Nationals did about as well as you could possibly have hoped for. And if 2 of Abrams, Hassel, Wood, and Gore make multiple All-Stars, that's probably the best case scenario. Just in terms of how prospects tend to work out. But they got 4 of the 5 best young prospects. Is he technically a prospect anymore? I don't know.
Probably exhausted that at this point. But for the first 2 months, Mackenzie Gore was looking like the rookie of the year front runner.
Certainly has that kind of upside, even though I have a lot of concerns about how the mechanics are going to hold up and the elbow health, obviously. But certainly an incredibly talented young player.
No structural damage in that elbow for what it's worth. And
for now, I mean, he's a 20-year-old pitcher. So.
Sure. And, as recently as 2020, he was considered the best pitching prospect in baseball, former 3rd overall pick, had the troubles with the mechanics last year and then seemed to right it in spring training. Maybe they cropped up again, and that's why he struggled prior to this elbow injury. Maybe the elbow was already bothering him. But the point is, we know that ace profile is still in there for Gore.
Yep.
And so to get him along with CJ Abrams, who consensus top 10 prospect coming into the year, Robert Hassel, consensus top 25 prospect right now as a 20-year-old in A-ball, a guy who great hit tool, could be a power speed profile. The power's still developing. Maybe that doesn't fully manifest, but it just like a very safe, projectable center fielder at age 20. And then James Wood, who's probably my favorite prospect who wasn't a clear top 100 guy coming into the year. I think he is a clear top 100 guy now. He might be top 50. 6'7" behemoth who's able to leverage that size for power like all those other 6'7" guys have. But unlike an O'Neal Cruz, an Ellie De La Cruz, even Aaron Judge when he first broke in, James Wood makes a lot of contact, 17.8 K percentage at
his
low
numbers
A.
at A-ball this year are bonkers. 337 with a 1054 OPS.
And even the 4th guy, Harlan Susana, very interesting. 18, he's in rookie ball, so there's a lot of development ahead, but he's dominating down there. He's 6'6". He's already high 90s. It's easy to see him being a triple-digit guy once he fills out a little more. So, that could go a lot of different ways, but you see the upside there.
Chris, are you looking to add CJ Abrams right now? Are we assuming that he just goes over to the Nationals and he has an everyday role with the team moving forward? He was in and out of the lineup with the Padres and hasn't looked great so far this year. 232 batting average, 2 homers, 1 steal. He is very fast, 92nd percentile in sprint speed, but 21 years old. It looks like he does have some development ahead here. He's 33% rostered. What do you think about adding Abrams now?
Yeah, I would expect he gets called up just because the Nationals are so bereft of talent. But it's worth pointing out he's only played 72 games between AA and AAA. So he's been very aggressively promoted. And it's always weird when a player gets promoted aggressively like that and then doesn't get to play every day. like the Padres have done with Abrams, because, how much development are you getting if you're not getting everyday plate appearances? He hasn't really gotten everyday plate appearances in 3 years at this point, which is, tough for any player's development. So when you put it in that context, the fact that he hasn't been, the worst hitter in baseball as a 21-year-old, I guess is even more impressive. But yeah, I think I would assume the Nationals are going to call him up, and he is someone who I think you should be adding at this point, just because there's a lot of talent there. A decent amount of speed, potentially good hitting. The Nationals have not had the best track record lately of getting the most out of their young position players, but Abrams is talented enough that I hope he gets the opportunity.
All right, especially
the weirdest thing about Abrams is that he has just one stolen base, because that's supposed to be his best tool. Like, he earned 80 grades for that in the minors, 92nd percentile sprint speed in the majors. So I don't know why he hasn't been doing more of that, but like if that manifests fully, if the Nationals allow him to be more aggressive on the bases, then it almost doesn't matter how quickly the bat comes around. Like, he would at least be valuable in that Jorge Mateo sort of way,
Yeah, 38 steals in 106 career games in the minors.
33% rostered is CJ Abrams. So any categories league where you need speed, I think going out and adding CJ Abrams is a smart move. Again, both Juan Soto and Josh Bell are headed to the San Diego Padres. It's going to be awesome. I mean, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, Fernando Tatis is back, and to see all of those players in the same lineup is just going to be really, really fun to watch for baseball. Maybe not so fun for Dodgers fans. I'm sorry, but like, whatever. Your team is awesome. Anyway.
They've got Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and all the rest of those guys. They're going to be okay.
Doesn't matter.
I'm grateful to the Padres just for preventing the Dodgers from getting Juan Soto, because that, they might have had to cancel baseball at that point. The Dodgers got Juan Soto.
It's no joke. Kind of lost in the mix here. Obviously, Soto is the huge news of the day, but Jorge Lopez, the closer for the Orioles, was traded to the Minnesota Twins. And Chris, we'll start with you with this one. Do you assume that Lopez closes for the Twins now? Yohan Duran, he's kind of been used in that just fireman, high leverage situation role with them. And do you assume now that Felix Bautista is the closer for the Orioles? And how excited would you be to add someone like him if he needs saves?
Yeah, I definitely went and added Bautista in the one league that I've got that has open add and drops. I already have Jorge Lopez in that one, so it's kind of a, making sure that I'm going to get some saves out of it, because there's a chance that Lopez isn't the closer, but I think given the way the Twins have acted this season, they have seemingly preferred to not just put Yohan Duran in the closer role and just use him as a traditional closer. So I don't think he's going to get 0 saves, but I do think Jorge Lopez is good enough. Presumably. I mean, Emilio Pagan has been good enough for most of his career, and he's been a disaster this season, so you never know with these things, but Jorge Lopez seems like he should be able to solidify the 9th inning role, and that should, I think, give them the look that they want, which means that Yohan Duran's going to get the occasional save. I think he's still going to be available for those 2-inning saves, especially, the situations where the best part of the lineup is coming up, but Lopez should get the majority of the saves for the Twins is how I'm approaching it.
Felix Bautista is 23% rostered. He's been really, really good this year for the Baltimore Orioles. Scott, what do you think about comparing him to players like Kyle Finnegan or even Sir Anthony Dominguez, who are still widely available in leagues?
I think Dominguez is my favorite choice of them. But Bautista would probably be right after him. I just think the talent gap between him and Kyle Finnegan is big enough that I'm willing to give up a little in the way of assurance. I mean, we should know pretty quickly whether Felix Bautista is going to be treated as is going to be handed save opportunities as regularly as Jorge Lopez was, and now's the time to act.
Yeah, I feel like whenever Lopez has either been out, missed time, or unavailable, Bautista has been the next man up. So
yep,
it's been very good. If you need saves, he's widely available. 23% rostered is Felix Bautista. All right, that's it. We're going to wrap up for Scott, Chris. I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching this emergency edition of Fantasy Baseball today. Have a feeling it will not be our last of the day, but we will be back later on tonight. Bye-bye.